Welcome to the first episode, and thank you for your presence. Of what, you may ask? We'll get to all that. For now, I want you to know that you have stepped into the threshold where the ordinary becomes intentional, where the unseen has a witness, and where your life is no longer whooping your ass, but rather teaching you how to take a damn knee. I am your curator, thought partner, and host, sometimes mystic, other times menace, Earth Angel. I'm an artivist, a philosopher, and a business owner. I am not here to prove anything, but rather to share, reflect, collaborate, guide, question, and most importantly, curate as your host, which means that I'm willing to dig up and sit with the good, the bad, and the ugly in myself and in my observations of society. Welcome to Life as Ritual. Round of applause. Now, if you're a black sheep, an estranged child, no matter your age, if you've ever been othered, misread, or quietly reshaped by survival, this is a space where you don't have to explain shit. Okay? This is a show rooted in philosophy, shadow work, and divinely guided smoke from artistic activists, incense, if you will. This show explores what happens when we treat daily life with intention, in the mundane, in the repetitive, in the moments we usually rush past. Here, those moments become sacred, not because they're easy, but because they're honest. Each episode, I'll introduce a theme and do my best to root it in real life, including my own, in habits, relationships, work, rest, grief, desire, discipline, and becoming. From wherever you are listening or watching, at this very moment we share, this is a conjoined space, a pause in the noise, a meeting point. Now, without any more delay, let's begin with today's theme.
Some try to imitate, but you can't make a dope.
Sold the fuck out trying to go R&B.
How many real hip-hoppers in the place? Real smooth beats so suckers can't count on mine.
Sick of B-boys just hipping and hopping it.
If I'm going out to the hardcore hip-hop.
I'm here, you're here, we're all here, everybody's here. Grounded in this shared moment, I want to introduce a word that quietly shapes so much of our daily lives, each one of us. That word is projection. Now, hearing that word for some people may be quite triggering. Some would prefer to dismiss. Some would, shudder within their timbers. Projection is a deeply philosophical concept, but it is extremely relevant. Projection is what happens when someone hands you a story that they haven't made peace with yet. What do I mean by that? How does it show up? Projection is in our everyday walk. Unless you live off the grid and you don't have any connections to a community or family or state or you name it. Our world thrives off of projections. Some are assumed, some historical, some generational. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. A look, a tone, an assumption made before you even speak. See, projections live in the daily gaps. Matter of fact, they fill the gaps for us. I wouldn't say so much a bridge, but a scab, if you were to imagine it. Between who you are and who someone needs you to be in order to make sense of themselves. You ever met someone and despite your most genuine intentions or just out of naivety, whatever, you show them kindness? And little do you know is in showing that kindness, you actually offended them. Because from their stance, from their perspective, from their gaps, that is not your role. Who are you to assess that I need anything from you? So to understand projections fully, we have to zoom out. Now, as an honoring of this being the first episode and also giving you a glimpse of the perspectives and thought partners that I have experienced, I really want to ground all of this in the works of Saidiya Hartman. Her works as a Black woman philosopher, let me correct that, as a philosopher, are not only groundbreaking, but also deeply impactful to how I view and perceive and respond. And she reminds us that slavery is not simply a past event. Remember those gaps. It has an afterlife. Whether we see it on the surface or not, it lingers in surveillance, criminalization, misrecognition, gendered vulnerability, economic precarity, all of them things. It shows up in how Black bodies are read before they are heard. And this isn't just about Blackness, don't get me wrong. Everyone should be able to take something positive from what I'm saying. At least that's the intention. I'm not here to divide, I'm here to articulate in the midst of the unknown. For I am not a content or historical expert. I am purely here for the love of wisdom. And that is why I chose the path that I have chosen. So anyway, not talking about me. It shows up in our Black bodies. And by black, I'm not talking about color. I'm talking about something so much deeper. And I hope that as this work evolves, we'll come to a collective definition of what that is. Because I don't think there is one single definition of blackness. That's just me. Which is why it just pisses me off that before I was even born, somebody gave me a definition that I don't agree with. Hartman gives us this language of rememory, right? The return of what was supposedly finished. So we're being told it's finished, and yet we're seeing the remnants, the residue, the distortion, stories that appear and disappear in our daily lives. I want to talk a bit about her chapter that brings up Esther Brown. And I urge you to, if you are not a deep reader, thinker, I don't know if this is going to be for you. I welcome you to be a part of this work, because that also helps me recognize how I can simplify and make things easier to understand, because philosophy as well as art in our society, more needed than ever. More needed than ever. But they're so mystified. And some intellectuals would say in the periphery, that we just assume they're present, or we take for granted when they are, when the hard conversations are had. And this is my attempt to put myself out there. I'm not even gonna lie. So in her chapter, she talks a bit about Esther Brown. Esther Brown, we see her teenage years. She is a single mother. She has a son. She is very intelligent, very just smooth with it. And she has lived, or, at the time of this description, is living a life based on her own terms. And yet that makes her dangerous. But what Hartman does is she introduces us to her, a young black woman living in the 20th century Harlem, early 20th century. Esther didn't leave a manifesto behind. She didn't declare a political movement. Her resistance was lived. She refused the kinds of labor meant to discipline her into obedience. And she chose movement over containment. She talks a bit about, or she describes Esther as not liking work. Every single job that was available to Esther at that time was for her to do labor, either for scraps or do the most for people who just don't give a damn about her, which is slavery. And I can't help but recognize that her character being described as not liking work or just being adverse to it, I don't even think it's the work that she's running. I know it's not the work that she's running away from. She's running away from the projection of which she would have to internally betray herself to tolerate, to maintain. Literally, you have to allow, in the sense of this movement, her resistance to containment, you would have to allow yourself to be spiritually adjusted according to something, someone, somewhere else that with or without consent is going to force you to make a decision anyway. And she refused that labor. And she was seen as disobedient. She was seen as rebellious. She was seen as a criminal, essentially. How dare you, black girl? How dare you be funky, fresh, and free in these Harlem streets? Don't you know there are shoes to be polished? Don't you know there are dresses to be hemmed? Don't you know there's laundry to do? And for that, she was criminalized. Not for a crime, but for a way of life. And that's the point in the ritual. And why I want to slow us down, to zoom out. Not everybody makes that choice. Not everybody has it in them not to explain, not to summarize. Not everybody can just sit or stand in it. And that's why I love this book so much. Wayward Lives, Beautiful Experiments by Hartman. And just the idea of young black women, young ladies, is a better way of putting it. But this chapter is not about Esther Brown's rescue, not to correct her, not to judge, but to let her live through the words of this woman philosopher. Taking the time out to describe that this has been going on for the longest time. And she doesn't give us a clean arc. The whole idea is that this is an experiment. Experimenting with a different lens rather than a trauma lens, looking at it from the philosophical lens, for example, the artistic lens, for example, the poetic. It's not a narrative about redemption. It's not. It's simply allowing her to live. Esther has movement. Her traces of movement, where she goes, what she refuses, how she survives. She shows a young black woman who rejects the kinds of work meant to discipline her into obedience. Domestic labor, factories, laundry, prostitution. And she does mention that the fact that she had a child out and out, so she was offered proposals, or a proposal, not her child's father. It doesn't really go into it, but there's a chance that Esther was molested when she was young, because she's already a single mother at 15 years old. And because of that, despite her intelligence, despite her wit, her strong will, her sense of pride, her internal navigation, her sovereignty, all of these things signal to the world around her that you need to be contained. That's a problem. You wouldn't have had a child out of wedlock. We're not even asking the question of or holding the person responsible who impregnated you at such a young age. But then again, at this time, it may have been a little more normalized. Possibly. Young women's bodies have been up on the auction block forever. And notice I didn't just say black women, because there are other groups of women who have been luggage, essentially. And here we are today. So Esther, in one sense, is being made out to be lazy in her environment, but the words on the page are also pulling out the fact that as you read them and you're processing them, that this laziness is actually a sign of intelligence, quote unquote. It's a sign that she is fully aware that there are other possibilities, that there are other elsewheres. And she doesn't lack character. But because those jobs were simply slavery with new paperwork, she had to align herself. Those were the signals. Those were the projections on her body, on her mind, on her soul, on her spirit. Every single aspect of her life, even by the people closest to her. You know, there are bad influences everywhere. There are bad people everywhere. There are liars everywhere. There are snakes everywhere. And there are ways to navigate this world without having to live in survival mode. But for this young lady, by the time she's 17, she has to do 3 years. She has to go to prison for 3 years. Or a reformatory is what it's called back then. Which essentially is like prison plus education for a specific. And when they say education, we're talking about indoctrination. You need to be corrected. And here are all the other young people that look like you to signal to you that in this space, you're here because there's something wrong with you. That's one hell of a projection. So back to Esther. Hartman lets us see Harlem differently in this way. Not as problem to be solved, but living, breathing terrain of possibility. The streets, the dance halls, the tenement houses, the wandering, the waiting, all of it becomes a kind of intelligence. Now, Esther is not without flaw. She seems to be kind of easily influenced by her friends, or her social group means a lot to her. And the decisions that she makes eventually leads her to the reformatory. And it was a social worker that recommended, guess the race. You can read the book, but I think the point that I'm making here is that this has not gone away. This is a lived rememory. There are people in some way, shape, or form reliving this memory in the very now. And as I sit with those pages, what strikes me most is how often Esther is punished, not for what she does, but for how she lives. Now think about Esther when you're feeling guilty about getting a full night's rest, or taking the day off, or not answering the text right away. How she was told to be lazy, and how that has traveled through generations of our bodies, still living in the afterlife of that to this day. That is what Hartman is bringing to the surface. And so she's arrested on these vague laws, right? No evidence, no documents, just the detective's testimony. Oh, the detective didn't even show up to court, and the man that she was accused of prostituting to was also set free, but she had to serve 3 years. Rebecca is her partner in crime, quote unquote. Now, Rebecca was ready. She was already ready to do the thing. But before they could even get it going, the guy reveals himself to be a detective. One of the other guys runs, who was the one who was put in jail. I'm not going super deep into the literature, this itself, because I want to keep it as simple as possible. Philosophy is not the easiest thing to unravel and speak about outside of academia. That is my experiment here. I'm only curating a conversation with myself, with my multiple selves in the multiverse, or you could call it just to the listener or the watcher. That is you. It's not easy to talk about these things outside of a professor's classroom. And here I am attempting it. So anyway, her vagrancy, her disorder, her idleness, Are all of these titles and projections put onto her designed to mean you don't belong outside our control? Erratic, bizarre, unrefined. And Hartman is clear. This is not about crime. It's not about crime. She wasn't sent to a reformatory because of crime, because the other folks didn't even give a damn about it. It's about the projection. The Black feminine autonomy being read as a threat outside of the gaze of whiteness, outside of the gaze of masculinity. Freedom being misread as danger, essentially. Desire being recoded as deviance. I remember a person, I won't get too specific, a person that I met whose parents jumped him, like actually beat him up. He's telling me this later on with a straight face as well. Beat him up because he went and got a job when they themselves were either living off checks or doing other things. And they said, don't you ever try to be better than us. That is the very same thing. So that happened in his household. And here it is, Esther is being put into the category of a criminal because of how she is striving and how she is desiring and how she is choosing to be free, which is dangerous and deviant. You see the parallels? Are you seeing the connection? And there may be other versions of that story where one tried to climb the ladder and was immediately yanked down by the crustiest, dustiest of losers who, out of all the things they could do with their day, they decided to be a hater, and now they want to spread their misery because they don't like you and they want to control you. So it's not about a biography. It's about practice of attention. That's the ritual, the practice of attention. She refuses to flatten Esther into a lesson. She's not a lesson. Pay attention to the factors at play. Pay attention to the parts, the movements, the tracks, the traces. Pay attention to what could possibly be laying underneath. What may be laying underneath is a deep infection, a deep wound that is not only national, but also global and universal. And Esther represents that attention, that practice of attention, that presence. I defer back. I rememory Esther Brown. So in that way, she's not finished. She's not complete. On the contrary, she's human. And that is the beautiful experiment. Oh, Lord. Whew, I felt the Most High move through me on that one. I just needed to let that out. But this is why Esther Brown matters to our everyday lives. Because the same projections that followed her down Harlem streets still follow us today, everywhere, at all times. Think about it. You wouldn't even know the amount of times that you mitigate and you defy your own self-identity. Some so much so that they're not even aware of it. It follows us into boardrooms. It follows us into break rooms. It follows us into classrooms, into relationships, into quiet moments alone. It's even there with you when you are trying so hard to distract yourself and put everything that you're feeling into a 4-hour doom scroll sesh. It's still with you. It's still on you. So when someone can't understand your refusal, your rest, your no, they often reach for a story that makes them comfortable, right? How many times have you assumed that when somebody didn't respond to your text that they were ignoring you? Do you know how many, not so many years ago, that wasn't even a thing? Meaning if I picked up the phone, which was a landline, and I called somebody else's house and they didn't answer, that just meant they were busy. They weren't home. And if I drove in the neighborhood and I happened to pass by so-and-so's house and I haven't seen her in a long time and I heard her grandmother is sick, so let me stop by real quick. I have this box of cookies, these famous Amos cookies. I got an extra one. Good thing I did. Let me stop by her house and maybe give her these cookies. She doesn't answer the door. I'm not sad or upset. I'm like, I'm going to catch her another time. But there are people out there who immediately assume the worst. Because that's how they feel about themselves. They don't want to see you rest because they can't rest. I remember one time when I was an undergrad, and I mean like it was finals. And I said to myself, I shall rest, self. Self, I shall not remove myself from this bed for at least the next 4 hours, unless to eateth and or to use the restroom. I don't know why I said eateth, but it felt very regal of me to choose to rest. And my door was open. I was living in a quad. And do you know my roommate, this motherfucker came to my door and said, hope you don't get any bed sores from laying around all day. I was so in shock, but in my head, I was like, nigga, fuck you. Oh, non-resting ass. Go get some rest. Maybe if you rest, you wouldn't say dumb shit. Anyway. So if we're not careful, we start editing ourselves to survive the story. You understand why it's a story about you that a person themselves can't even accept. So you can never satisfy the story. There's no full circle moment in that storyline. You're not the hero. You're like a side character that just keeps showing up and we don't understand why. That's what it is to the projector. And you don't have to be a projectee, but you should also be aware that sometimes you're not aware that you are being projected on and you're acting accordingly. So I don't want to skip this part, and I do want to start bringing this all to a head because it will. Stay with me in the ritual. Projection doesn't only come from the outside. We, I, you, us, mama now, other people project too, internally. Our fears onto the future, our disappointments onto our bodies, our unspoken grief onto the people closest to us. I'm not making an excuse for any abusers out there, but 9 times out of 10, the person who is the abuser is grieving something so deep that they can't even function normally and displace and project all of it onto somebody else because maybe it's too heavy to carry. I don't know. Not making an excuse, just an observation. Doesn't make it right. But there is something there. When people say hurt people, well, also heal people, and so on and so forth. And when we're not paying attention, there comes the practice of attention again. When we're not paying attention, we start living inside those projections, shrinking, performing, defending, disappearing, becoming hyper visible to survive someone else's narrative. And they don't even have the narrative. They don't even have the words. They don't even have it. So there's that. This is where life as ritual meets projection, because ritual slows us down just enough to ask, is this actually mine to carry? Not every feeling belongs to you. Not every reaction reflects truth. Not every conflict requires self-erasure. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is notice the moment before you internalize the distortion. I'll tell you, I blow people's minds sometimes, and it shocks me because I'm like, why did you think I was going to do that? Man, you don't know me. You don't know me then. I don't know why that was a shocker. You tried to, let's say strong arm me into a decision that I don't want to make. I'm at the point in my life, I'm not moving for you. I'm okay with you being mad at me. Go be mad. Back in the day when you say that you don't want to be my friend anymore, I don't want to be your friend anymore. Okay. Going around then. So the practice of paying attention, or the practice of attention, the goal of it is to notice the moment before you internalize the distortion. I've lived this. Okay, motorist. I've lived this. I've walked into rooms according to those people, I had no business in. My presence was read as a threat before my intelligence. I have to be honest, my voice has been such a battle for me for so long. I'm so thrown off when I actually speak my mind that it literally shakes me. But in this practice, in this lived work that I'm moving through, I'm recognizing, so that means to do it more. You should do it more, girl. And I've been labeled too much when I was practicing, when I was simply being clear. I wasn't moving with emotion. I was moving with logic. I was speaking to you from logic, and everyone actually around me is speaking emotional language. So of course you guys are not going to like me. I'm not playing into your shit. So now I'm too much. Oh, so now I'm too much now. Okay, cool. And for a long time, I believed that story. Until I learned to pause. Until I learned to ask what was mine / You see what I did there? What was mine and what was inherited. Because let's be clear, if you're an adult, you've had some form of a childhood, whether it was good or bad, and you inherited processes of thinking and decision making, or lack thereof, due to that. However, it's not too late for you to rewire your brain. You can rewire your brain, you know that, right? You can sift through the trauma. You can choose to put the trauma lens on and off. You can compartmentalize if you choose. All those things are within you. But the biggest thing is to recognize and learn to ask, learn to pause. So before we part ways, let's practice something together. If you can, Let your body settle. Feet on the floor, hands resting somewhere honest. Take one breath. Not forced, just present. Bring to mind a recent moment where you felt misread or misunderstood. Notice what happens in your body. And then gently ask, is this mine? If it is, you're allowed to tend to it. If it's not, you're allowed to set it down without explanation. This is the ritual. Awareness, discernment, choice. Projection won't disappear. I'm sorry to tell you. But you don't have to disappear into it. And next time, we'll be building, evolving these ideas through real life, through real stories, real practice. If something stirred in you, share in the comments. Where have you noticed projection showing up in your life lately? And what might it look like to pause before carrying it? Until we meet again on this channel, in this shared space, stay present, stay curious. Your life is not late. It is not behind. It is happening, and it is sacred.